We started the week by reporting on the joint venture cash calls by the NNPC. The figure was $5 billion US. Now we got further clarity that is only $1 billion that Nigeria has paid, or that NNPC has paid the IOCs out of that arrears of $5 billion. That's according to the NNPC chief, Mekanti Baru. We have a lot to talk about as we look into the economy. There's a lot in our news box, and that's one of the reasons why our economic consultant, Bismarck Rewane, who is also the CEO at Financial Derivatives, is joining us for this conversation that via Skype. Mr. Rewane, thank you very much. There's a lot in the news box this morning to try and wrap our heads around. But let's start with the big fight between the U.S. and China. On whose side are you?
Well, I'm always on the side of free trade, and I think that we should look at it in the context of what is happening. There's some grandstanding, and then there's an end game. As far as I'm concerned, Trump is complaining about the trading balance between China and the United States. So he slaps his ban so that China will respond, and then they would negotiate, and finally they will settle, and so that China would allow more U.S. goods into the Chinese market, and China would de-escalate the amount of intellectual property theft that is taking place, because the Chinese are notorious for stealing intellectual property. So I think to a large extent, it's an unorthodox approach, but eventually it will settle with more balance between exports and imports across countries. The U.S. is tired of carrying too much of the load or too much of the weight of the rest of the world, and I think Trump is just expressing it in a relatively crude manner.
A very interesting summary of the state of local and global economy to your LBS breakfast meeting for July. Then let's talk about briefly on President Buhari's budget and the political issues he's having around the ruling party at the moment.
Well, I think the truth is that we need a budget. We need the budget as an impetus and a stimulus to grow. So first and foremost, my view has always been that the budget was too small and that we needed more. And we needed more in the capex area, and we needed more investment. What Buhari is complaining about is the fact that it was slowed down. Two, they added more in the consumption area rather than in the investment area. Now, having said that, he needs to reach out and have a rapprochement with his legislature so that he can have a supplementary budget. Because without a supplementary budget, and even with a supplementary budget that is not audacious, you will find that the economy will stall. If it stalls in 2018, in 2019, it's going to be much more difficult. So when you look at the long term, Nigeria has to make some very bold and audacious decisions at this time. And that means that somebody, President Buhari and Senate President and the Speaker have to come together to put Nigeria first before internal squabbles in the political party and the struggle for 2019.
One of the big stories, Mr. Rewane, to wrap it up this week, was the visit of Emmanuel Macron, the French president, and he had some message for Nigeria. How do you understand those messages from the French president?
The French president was very clear. I mean, first and foremost, he has some affinity for Nigeria. He was in Nigeria before. He went to the shrine. The former, his predecessors had been to the shrine to meet Fela when Fela was alive. So there's a cultural link. There's the investment link, and then there's the West African region ECOWAS link. Having said that, you look at, of all the oil marketing companies in Nigeria, the international marketing companies, only Total, which is the French company, has remained intact. All the others are sold and divested. When you look at the retail space, Carrefour, the largest retailer in the world after Walmart, is also opening up in West Africa and it's coming into Nigeria. When you look at the infrastructure space, the French are doing a lot of things in terms of technology, in terms of investment in energy. But also when you look at the aviation space, when you look at the Sky Team, which is Air France, Kenya Airways, Delta, and Virgin Atlantic, they are now the largest alliance operating into Nigeria. So I would say that Macron, at the age of 39, is bold, is energetic, is full of ideas. He's actually trying to unleash a lot of these things so that they can help work together with Nigeria to actually lift the level of the quality of life of West Africa, especially French-speaking and English-speaking West Africa.
Mr. Rewane, thank you very much for speaking with us this morning. We had you on Monday to start the week, and thank you very much for those final words to wrap up the business week. Thank you, and do have a great weekend.